Afternoon, Mr. Poirot. Terrible thing, this murder. I hope you get to the bottom of it. Need a little stimulation to help you think? Choose from the menu if you like.
I say, some tasty concoctions here, Poirot.
Sorry, sir. All out of dark rum and grenadine, I'm afraid. Blame George. It's his favourite drink.
Allow me the contribution.
Cough syrup? I can't serve cough syrup to my customers.
I say.
Afternoon, Mr. Poirot. Terrible thing, this murder. I hope you get to the bottom of it. Need a little stimulation to help you think? Choose from the menu if you like.
I say, some tasty concoctions here, Poirot.
Sorry, sir. All out of dark rum and grenadine, I'm afraid. Blame George. It's his favourite drink.
Allow me the contribution.
These will do nicely, sir. I can make several planter's punches with these. Thank you. There you go.
Merci.
A planter's punch. This will do nicely. Thank you, sir. That certainly restored my nerves wonderfully. Now then, you had a bit of diving you wanted me to do. No luck yet, sir, but I'll have another go. This it, sir? Just a small glass bottle?
Well, would you look at that? That will do quite well.
Hello? Need the sea tractor, do you?
Yes, please.
On me way. What a lot of police going back and forth. I guess it's true then. Murder's been done. I heard it was that actress lady, Arlena Stewart, who died. Good to have that Colonel Weston in charge. He'll soon get to the bottom of things. And I brought over Dr. Neasden as well. He does the autopsies at the hospital in Kingsbridge. Hard to believe that such a thing could happen here. I don't think there's been a death on the island since Tom Cutter was hung 3 centuries ago. Hello again, Mr. Poirot. How can I help you?
I have a few matters to discuss only. What can you tell me of hotel guest movements this morning?
Well, let's see. Mr. Lane came across on the sea tractor fairly early this morning, about 8, I'd say, and set off on foot across the moor. He hasn't come back yet. Major Barry picked up his car, thanks again for repairing it, and drove off to Kingsbridge just before 10. Say, 10 minutes of... Major Black came in from sailing not too long ago and headed for the Monk's Head. I've seen no one else except the police and Dr. Needston coming and going. Colonel Weston went back to the police station, I think.
Do you know Mr. North?
The day tripper gent with the binoculars?
That is he.
Haven't seen him today at all, but he has no trouble wading across the causeway on his own.
He has been visiting Seadrift Island often?
Every now and again over the past few months. Anything else I can help you with, Mr. Poirot? You did a bang-up job on that motor of Major Barry's.
Do you have the handle of the winch used for the raising and lowering of the sails?
No, but I can probably track one down for you. Come back later this afternoon.
What can I do for you, Mr. Poirot?
You have heard of the terrible tragedy?
The murder of that wonderful actress, Mrs. Marshall? Oh, yes.
I have been asked to investigate.
Well, I'm sure you'll clear it up as fast as you found my missing post.
Merci, madame. Did you see any of the hotel guests this morning?
Yes. Major Barry came in around 9:30. He wanted to use the phone. Then he declared it wasn't private enough for his needs and said he'd drive into Kingsbridge instead. What do you suppose was so private he couldn't call from here? It's not as if I'm one to gossip.
Of course not. Did you see anyone else?
Yes. That young stepdaughter of Mrs. Marshall's came in to refill a prescription for her.
What was the prescription?
A sedative. Trianol.
When was Mademoiselle Marshall here?
Why, it was only a little while ago. Right before I heard the news of the murder.
Hold on. Elena was well dead by that time.
Indeed, she had no more need of the sedatives. Thank you, Madame Hughes. That is all my questions. The bottle thrown from the balcony, it contained artificial suntan. The substance in Elena's coffee, it is trianol, a powerful sedative. The substance in Monsieur Black's suitcase is the oil for the protecting of a gun from rust, Hastings. The substance contained in the smashed bottle found in Cutter's Cove, it is perfume. I am sorry. The liquid in the unmarked bottle from Madame Marshall's bath is the color that made her hair such a striking shade. That is... The blood found at the monastery ruins, it is from the chicken. The substance on the stick pin, it is candle wax. Ah, almost there. Hastings, this is important. Would you not agree?
Thank you, sir. I'll send it off at once. Thank you, sir. I'll send it off directly.
Have you any dark rum?
Nary a drop, I'm afraid. With trade being as slow as it is, there's not much sense in restocking.
Hello, Poirot. Seems like the old place isn't so dull anymore.
No, it is not. Proceed with care, Hastings. We have need of Monsieur Blatt's assistance.
Righto.
I believe you have lost the life ring buoy from your sailboat?
How did you know that?
I have found it. Your boat is called the Parsimony, is it not?
Why, yes, she is. A little joke of my competitors in the business world.
Hardware, was it? Do not press him, Hastings.
That's right. Listen, that boy's no good to me anymore. It was damaged in a storm. I've been trying to find another without much success. I even tried to beat Bagby at darts for the boy and his war, but I couldn't do it.
Where were you from 11:15 and 20 of 12 this morning?
Easy. I put out in my yawl about 9, then spent the morning zipping up and down the bay. Just got back a few minutes after 1 and heard the news about the murder. Ghastly business.
Could you see Cutter's Cove from your boat?
Well, yes. I suppose I could have, but I wasn't looking, I'm afraid.
Can you shed any light on the murder?
If I was looking for a suspect, I couldn't rule out that Mrs. Redfern. Jealousy, you know, led to trouble before this.
Yes, unfortunately, Madame Marshall was strangled by someone with powerful hands. That does not suggest Madame Redfern. Hastings, do you therefore rule out all women as suspects?
Of course. No woman would have the strength.
We will speak more of this in a moment. Perhaps I will try a game of the darts.
Good luck. He's the best player I've ever seen.
A regulation...
Fancy a game, sir? Care to make a gentleman's wager?
I will play you for that life ring buoy on your wall.
Oh, very well. But it's worth 10 quid. Is it a bet?
£10 for a boy? That's highway robbery.
Only if he wins, Hastings.
10 quid against the boy. You throw first.
I didn't think you had it in you. Well done.
I have obtained the life ring buoy.
So that's mighty nice of you, Poirot. Anything I can do for you in return?
Do you have the compass I might borrow?
Well, I guess I could let you use my compass. Not much use for it sailing round Leathercombe Bay. Mind you, return it though.
Do you have the winch handle I might borrow?
Winch handle? From my sailboat? Not bloody likely. How would I haul my sails up and down? If you'll excuse me, Poirot, I have some business to attend to. Don't worry, I'll be around the hotel if you need me.
Poirot, do you think a woman could have strangled Elena?
In 1926 was the first woman to swim the English Channel. I believe she could strangle you with ease, especially if you asked such a nonsensical question.
Then we should put all the women on the island to the test. Somehow.
Very well.
Poirot, any indications yet on Elena Marshall's murder?
Indications, yes, but there is still work to be done, Colonel.
of course. How can I help?
Has the body been moved from Cutter's Cove?
Yes. Dr. Neasden is performing the autopsy right now in Kingsbridge.
Did your men uncover anything new from the murder scene?
No, nothing, I'm afraid.
Have you an answer from Scotland Yard on the sketch?
Yes, goes by the name of John North. Here's the report.
I will copy the important points into my notebook.
Nasty bit of goods there. Hate to hear he's in my district.
Have you the report on the Alice Corrigan case?
Here you are. As I said, it wasn't my district. Chief Constable in charge did all he could. Eventually turned it over to Scotland Yard. They have a couple of men on it, I believe.
Merci beaucoup. I will make the notes of my own.
Husband's alibi looks unbreakable, and there are no other real suspects.
Do you have the background checks on the suspects?
Not yet, I'm afraid.
Mrs. Castle is very nervous. She may attempt the escape.
We're ready to follow if she does.
I have here the letter, written to Elena, signed only J.N. Do you think you could have Scotland Yard ask among her acquaintances in London if they can identify this man?
J.N.? It's not much to go on. Do you have anything else?
This photograph of the Redferns was taken by a Jimmy Nash, as you can see from the reverse side.
Yes.
I will ask Monsieur Redfern if he knows Monsieur Nash, but please send it along to Scotland Yard as well. It may help.
Of course.
Did Monsieur Blatt report to you that his boat had been fired upon?
I'll say not. When was this?
That I cannot tell you. He mentions an accident in the storm only.
What storm? We've had fair weather for weeks now.
Then why would he conceal such an attack?
I could bring him in for questioning.
Not just yet, please. Again, I would advise only to watch his movements should he leave Seadrift Island.
I'll inform my men.
That will do for now, monsieur.
Like a ride to the island?
Yes, please.
Let's be off then. Gladys and I have seen several of Miss Stewart's films. It's a tragedy she can't make any more now. You know, it got me thinking. Film stars are immortal. Years and years after they die, they are still up on the screen, entertaining us and taking our minds off our troubles. Did you ever think of that? Film stars never die.
Mademoiselle, there is a favor you could do for Poirot. Would you be willing to help with an experiment?
What kind of experiment?
Or would you be so kind as to open the jar for me, please? Ah, I see you mean to prove your theory that no woman would have the strength to strangle Madame Marshall.
Can't do it, sir. It's on there ever so tight.
Would you mind asking one of the ladies at the hotel to open it?
Why a lady? Surely any of the sturdier gents could do it.
Well, Hastings, this is your plan. What do you say to that?
Tell her you have a phobia about other men opening jars for you.
What? Oh, that is absurd. She will think Poirot is a lunatic.
If you won't do it, I win my point. No woman could have throttled Elena Marshall.
Mademoiselle Gladys, that is to say, I have the tiniest of phobias about other men opening jars for me. As unbelievable as that sounds.
Oh, no, sir. I believe it. Coming from you, I'll give it a go.
Who shall I have tried? Mademoiselle Brewster.
There you are, sir. I thought you'd forgotten about me. When you didn't return, I decided I would test every woman in the hotel for you, just to be sure. I hope I didn't take too much on myself.
Thank you very much, Mademoiselle Gladys. What did you find?
I gave it to every woman on the island to try, and not one of them could budge it. That is, until I gave it to Miss Brewster. She popped it right open. Gosh, she's strong.
Merci beaucoup, mademoiselle. You have done an excellent job.
What should I do with the jar?
It is yours. Take it as well with the sincere thanks of Hercule Poirot.
Phobias must be a heavy burden to bear.
Eh bien, Hastings. We progress most satisfactorily. The course now is to identify and to remove the red herrings that obscure our true path. Where have our investigations taken us? I will remind you of those moments I considered the most important. You, of course, must decide which pertain to the murder of Elena Stewart, which are additional crimes that, while they may have no bearing on the murder, must still be solved, and what we still must learn before all questions are answered and the guilty unmasked. Are you ready, mon ami?
As ready as I'll ever be, I suppose. But could I have my sixth clue to the secret of the finger of suspicion first?
But of course, the sixth clue is telephone.
Telephone. Let's see what we have so far then. Power, lamp, desk, drawer, magnet, and now telephone. Thank you, Poirot. I'm ready to hear what you consider important about what we've learned so far.
First, what are the mysteries we are trying to unravel?
The murder of Arlena Marshall.
Of primary importance. We will explore the possible suspects presently, but let us take a moment for motive. What are your thoughts on the reason Arlena Marshall was murdered?
Jealousy.
More than one person would have reason to object to her attentions to Monsieur Redfern.
The murder of Millie Parsons.
We now know enough of the circumstances in the crime to point towards a killer with motive and opportunity. The anthropology instructor, Gideon Fell. And unless Mr. Fell is on Seadrift Island or in Leathercombe Bay in disguise, he is not a suspect in Arlena Marshall's murder.
Yet there were several persons who either intimately or peripherally involved in the case on Seadrift Island.
True, and 2 points remain to be cleared up. Can you name them?
Was Gideon Fell the man you mentioned in your story of voodoo?
The one who awakens in the night in the greatest of fear? Yes, it was he.
Because of voodoo?
Is it so hard to accept? If you accept that he himself believed in the power of voodoo?
Is Linda Marshall involved in voodoo?
The signs seem to point in that direction, I am afraid. Once we hear from Miss Porter and learn what Mademoiselle Marshall hides in her puzzle box, we will have our final answers, I think.
The murder of Alice Corrigan.
We know little of the details of this case. Only that the husband was implicated and cleared due to the unbreakable alibi. And this crime was committed near Brixham as well. It may yet prove to be connected to the Millie Parsons case.
I thought the police proved that Fell couldn't have been the killer.
There may be another connection, Hastings. Do not rule it out.
The activities of fifth columnists.
Yes, it seems clear that Mrs. Castle watches, but not in the name of England.
Voodoo on Seadrift Island.
Yes, and we have the indications it is being practiced here and by young Mrs. Marshall.
The ghost of Tom Cutter.
Yes, the ghost who is not the ghost. Do you have any theories as to who the ghost might be?
Mr. North.
He would certainly seem to be the most likely candidate.
The birdwatcher, Mr. North.
Yes, the report from Scotland Yard, which I hope you have read. It tells us he is the smuggler. But of what? Is he allied with the Fifth Communists? Or someone else?
Bullets and Mr. Blatt.
Yes, Monsieur Blatt is shot at, but fails to mention the fact. Shot at by whom?
A German U-boat?
Possibly. If it were the authorities, I am sure Colonel Weston would have been informed. Yet he did not find the incident of sufficient interest to tell anyone. He even makes up the transparent lie of storm damage. Why? Yes, all of these mysteries still bedevil us to greater or lesser degree. Now I will list the characters in our little drama. Do you believe that we can eliminate anyone from any of the mysteries we pursue?
Colonel Weston.
But of course, Colonel Weston is an old friend with the uncompromising belief in the rule of law.
Mrs. Hughes.
I agree that we can safely eliminate Madame Hughes. Witnesses will easily establish she was tending to her various business ventures during the time of the murder.
Albert Bagby.
Of course. While the Monk's Head pub does not open until 11, Monsieur Bagby could not have made his way to Cutter's Cove and back again in 20 minutes.
Will Jenks.
If the misunderstanding between Will and his young lady had involved Elena, it would have been Gladys who might want her dead. But such was not the case.
Gladys Narracott.
Can Gladys have slipped away from her duties at the hotel long enough to commit the crime? It is possible. But when faced with what she believed was her young man's unfaithfulness, her character drove her to sorrow, not murder. Besides, she suspected it was Linda Marshall who was playing up to Will, not Elena.
Henry Bailey.
The estimable barman. I myself can testify that he was in the bar during the time of the murder.
George Strum.
His hands? They are certainly hands most powerful, and George may have abandoned the raking of the tennis court long enough to commit the crime. But his movements are well known to all, in case he is needed on the bathing beach. He could not count on his absence being overlooked. And again, of course, where is his motive? Now let us turn our attention to the more likely suspects. Which is your choice as murderer?
Major Barry.
For Major Barry, a man who has lived through the violence of war, an obsession rebuffed by Madame Marshall may indeed have turned to more violence.
Horace Blatt.
It is true the man has secrets. He would also have had the opportunity to slip quietly ashore at Cutter's Cove and depart in his sailboat during the time of the murder.
Hilary Castle. Arlena could have figured out that she was betraying her country.
Self-preservation. I did not see among her many attractive qualities any indication that Mrs. Marshall possessed the instincts of a detective. Still, it is a possibility.
Emily Brewster.
The athletic Mademoiselle Brewster is a woman strong enough to strangle another, as your experiment proved. And we have not determined a sufficient alibi for her, I think. And yet, she is another like Monsieur Blatt, par example, who apparently has no motive for the crime at all.
Rosamond Darnley.
The murder of empathy, to protect the man she truly loves. She is a strong woman who has succeeded in the business world. It is possible she would be capable of such an act.
Carrie Gardner.
Another who is hiding something? Would she strike down the woman who ruined her husband's business?
Oakley Gardner.
The likable Mr. Gardner, who takes so long to find the knitting wool and who was ruined by Arlena Marshall?
Stephen Lane.
A man so consumed by his zealotry, he has lost his position as a minister of God? The religious fanatic is indeed a man who could be driven to take it upon himself to personally destroy the evil he sees.
Kenneth Marshall.
The jealous husband? Even the cool customer like Captain Marshall may have the fires that burn deep inside.
And there's the money motive too.
Yes, the background check of Scotland Yard should reveal if he has the reverses in business.
Linda Marshall.
Again, empathy? To protect him from the woman who makes him the cuckold in the eyes of all the world? Already she is attracted by the unhealthy interests. Already she knows the violence that can strike without warning. Yet she would seem to have the unimpeachable alibi thanks to Madame Redfern.
Christine Redfern.
On the face of it, the most likely suspect? The jealousy for her is the most immediate and intense. Yet she too would seem to have the unimpeachable alibi, according to Mademoiselle Marshall.
Patrick Redfern.
Again, an obsession that Elena Marshall has decided to end? Their lover spurned? Yet where is the opportunity? His movements are witnessed by many, including myself, until he set off in the rowboat with Mademoiselle Brewster. Voila! There we have it then. Barring new evidence against any of those we have eliminated, there are 12 suspects. Some would seem to have no motive, others no opportunity. But at this stage, we must keep our minds open to all possibilities. You agree?
Absolutely.
Then when you are ready, we will return to Seadrift Island. It is late in the afternoon. In only hours, the truth will reveal itself and a killer will face the ultimate court.